My name is Nick Pettit. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director here at Southern Nazarene University, and this is another episode of Mas Futbol Podcast.
Yo, welcome back to the Mas Futbol Podcast, the number one soccer podcast here in Oklahoma City. I am your host, Ricardo Ulloa, and I am here at SNU, here where they play basketball. I don't remember the name of the building.
Sawyer Center.
The Sawyer Center. Yeah, it's a great place. But I'm not here by myself because I do have a guest with me today. I have the Assistant Athletic Director for SNU, my guy here, Nick. Is it Nick Pettit?
Pettit.
Mm-hmm. Nick Pettit.
It gets kind of crazy adding that extra T. Everybody thinks it's French, but it's got that extra T.
Pettit. How are you today, my friend?
I'm good. Trying to stay warm with everything going on.
I hear you. I was a little worried about the weather. We're recording today. What is it? Whatever day it is. The Snowmageddon 2023. Mm-hmm. They said it wasn't going to come, but as soon as I started hitting the roads, it started falling thick. So
yeah, it was pretty clear coming in, but
nice. Well, I appreciate you for coming on. I'm excited to learn a little bit about what you do, what the role of an athletic director is for a college program, as well as just a little bit about yourself. For the people that don't know you, could you give me a quick intro and tell me a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I grew up here in Edmond. I played at Edmond Memorial. Grew up playing soccer. I played both at ESC and North Oklahoma City before they merged to OFC and what is now OEFC. So being a product of that system has been really enjoyable. It's opened up a lot of doors. Played with a lot of good guys there. Went on to play at Oklahoma Baptist University. And then after I graduated, they kept me on as an assistant. So I was there from 2012 to 15 as an assistant coach. 2015, I went up to Missouri to take over the program, Southwest Baptist University. Did 3 seasons up there, decided, I needed to move back home. There were some opportunities, I think, opening up here that God really just kind of opened up some doors, and went to Deer Creek, got to coach with Zach Stevens there with the boys, but then at that time, some doors opened up, and I was able to kind of be the assistant athletic director at the same time while teaching special education and coaching. And then, late July of 2022, I get the call from here saying, hey, we want to offer you to the assistant athletic director job here. So it was a quick move and last minute.
Sounds like an offer you can't really say no to, right?
No, I think, God really opened up some doors because, for the longest time I felt like he was kind of calling me into that administration role so I could really get to connect, because I love connecting with my players and everything, but I think it was just me being able to connect now more with athletes in all sports and all the coaches. So I get to do that every day here. I love it. I get to, hang out with our amazing coaches and staffs that we have here, but then just getting to see our student athletes on and off the field, in the court, just, having fun and being successful and preparing them for life after they graduate.
It kind of sounds like he had been preparing you for a role like this.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a crazy road. Never thought I'd kind of be where I am today, being 33 and being in this position. It's fun. So
how's it been now that you've been here almost 7 months?
Mm-hmm. No, it's I love it. I mean, I miss kind of seeing the day-to-day stuff that I did as far as hanging out with my special education kids there at Deer Creek, and then obviously the coaching. But we got 2 soccer coaches here. I get to talk soccer, with them a lot, and then. But we still have opportunities that I actually get to bring the special education kids in here, and they get to actually work for us. So I've got 2 of my former kids actually working for us on staff.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So.
And, I had seen that when I was doing my bit of research. I think it was back in 2001. You were able to bring on 2 kids from Deer Creek to help out at Energy FC. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. In 2021, we were able to bring what started actually in 2020. Thanks to, Christian Ibiaga and Cody Larendi, kind of talking with them. And then both of those guys went to the front office and just said, hey, we have a kid at Deer Creek that wants to be an equipment manager. Can we try to test it out here? And so then they got me in contact with Jason Hawkins, and Jason and I, talked at the time. And so Craig started off, just as a volunteer. And then they he blew them away, and so that turned into almost a full-time job for him.
Wow.
the next season, because we treated the first one, and it kind of worked out that it turned into an internship, because obviously we had COVID and it shut everything down. So that kind of gave us that time period while the energy was shut down to come up with a game plan of what Craig could do. And so when we came back, he just took it off. He was working with Ian Sanders, who's now with Houston Dynamo.
Shout out to Ian.
Down there. And Ian loved it, because now Ian had somebody that helps him, because Ian does a lot, not only equipment management, but also setting up training and different things. And so Ian, I think, was huge as well in giving Craig more options. And then when we came back, after the season, we said, hey, we got a couple more kids. And they said, absolutely.
Wow.
And so, the more that we got to even then talk with Jeff and Tim and Bob, I'm just grateful for the fact that they allowed us to bring our kids in, because then that opened doors for some of their classmates to go and work in other organizations.
Wow. Which I bet did enormous things for their confidence. But not only that, but I watched some of their interviews. They genuinely love.
They love to be here. They just want to work. They want to go and connect with people in the workplace, and they love it. And that's, I think, what I love, that they get to come in here now, to here at SNU and get to connect with the athletes and different staff across campus. I know that, my boss, our athletic director, at first was like, okay, let's see what they can do. But then after the first game for our football, he absolutely loved it. And then I said, well, we have more that we can do. Our president got on board with it. Our provost, everybody, top to bottom in our administration, just absolutely loves having them here, because they see these kids are the mission of the university, and they just love connecting with people and working hard.
Nice, dude. Shout out to you. Let me give you one of these, because that one touched me a little bit.
No, my biggest thing is, I just kind of get them in the position. I help them make the connection, and it's up to them what they're going to do. And so it's the students that actually have gone out and put in the work, so they can become full-time workers, employees. And so, you just put them in that position, and you see them take off, and it's fun to watch.
It's funny how you say that, because you can relate that exact saying with being an athletic director and putting these student athletes in those positions to work.
No, so we've got two young men that were in a class this past fall. One's a baseball player, one's a golfer for our men's golf team. Needed internship hours for their class. They came and worked almost every event that we had this fall to gain hours. And so for me to sit there and see their work ethic, and just they're very on top of their time management and everything. So I approached them because, I'm on the board at NOKC Soccer Club. We were looking for a volunteer coordinator at the time. And so I, approached the club first, and I said, hey, I've got these two boys, like, they could tag team it. That way they're helping each other out, because, when you're a volunteer coordinator, you got to talk to all these different, parents and others that are supposed to come and volunteer. So if you had two people tackling it, it would go a long way. The club is on board with it, offered it to these two young men, because I'm looking at it as, hey, it's a position now you can put on your resume. And so they went and they met, and they've been doing a great job of it. And so, like I said, it's just kind of putting, I love my job, and be able to connect, student athletes and anybody, to some other people, just based off networking and connections. And it's just up to them, if they really want it, they're going to work their tail off to achieve it.
Yes.
So
some people just need an opportunity, and I feel like you're also not only giving them the opportunity, but the confidence.
I'm a product of that. I've been given opportunities. And so, one of my youth group leaders when I was in church, he had a quote, and it was, work you put in today determines success tomorrow. And I kind of kept that to heart. I've been given opportunity after opportunity. And, just like anybody, when you're given that, you don't want to disappoint. You want to take advantage of it and run with it. So
for an athletic director here at SNU, what does putting in the work look like here for you?
So for me, being the assistant AD for operations, I'm in charge of everything when it comes to game day. So from the setup of the field, the court, to the breakdown of it, to making sure we have all the workers that go into
concessions,
ticketing, who's running the clock, who's running, we have all that. I get to work some of that, though, hand in hand with our sports information director. Okay. Phil and I, our two circles come together quite a bit. So obviously, like football games, for instance, he's actually working a little bit more with the guys that run the clock because that, comes
There's so many people.
Yeah. Well, it comes into play to his realm of sports information. Yeah. He needs to know the time and all that. So he's kind of talking with them in the press box. But then I'm at football, I'm really trying to make sure we have the chain crew going. We have people helping with the locker rooms. We've got concessions taken care of. We've got gates taken care of. I've got, security all around. So there's a lot of moving pieces that go to it.
Especially for football. I worked the board at Northwest Classen one time because my wife was working there. And I had the stop the clock, reset the clock, depending on if it was a first down, second down. And the guy... Yeah. Shout out to the guy. He had so much patience for me, but it's such a it's just
football is a lot. But when it came, our soccer set up, just making sure the field is ready to go. We have people running the gate and concessions, and then other than that, I just kind of wait for the officials to get there, get to talk with the officials, and then we just kind of get to sit back and I get to get my feet up and watch. And
nice.
Try not to jump out of my chair when we score goals.
So you're like literally the first one that shows up and the last one that leaves.
Wow. Yep, quite a bit of that. So the coaches I think at times stay longer because they just kind of, either washing the uniforms or just kind of digesting the game. Because in college soccer it's quite the schedule because a lot of time you'll play on a Thursday. You got Friday off where you got to train and recover and get ready to play again on Saturday. So, a lot of time they'll stay back in the locker room and, watch, where were they successful or where did we struggle a bit, and then get ready, to prepare for the next game that they got to play.
What position did you play?
I played striker.
Really? So you were banging the goals in, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, I tried to. And then as I got older and then started playing, down there on Western quite a bit.
Oh, you played down there?
Yeah, I played for Deportivo Mexico.
Okay, now I see you. And I remember the face.
Yeah,
okay.
So, Luis and Enoch brought me on, and then I actually started playing center back so I can control, the big Chino and all them. So,
yeah.
Gino, I think he hit one goal that I was like, I'm not getting in the way of that.
Gino?
Yes, because he just strikes it.
If it wasn't him, it was Dominique. Or Thomas. I've gotten to play with Dominique and Thomas. And the many times that we've played against Mexico, there's players that you just, when they do something, you just scratch your head and say, how the heck? I don't know what Dominique did one day. Somebody ripped it, and he just happened to flick it, and he flicked right over the goalie, and we just said, but there's just players.
Those guys are different animals. I've played a couple of times against Thomas at indoor, and the first half he's running around with a weighted vest.
Yeah.
And then he takes it off at halftime, and his abs have abs. And I'm sitting there going, you're 50, probably 50 years old, and you're just an animal still. They're just a different breed.
That's
but they're those are guys that the
nicest.
They're the nicest, and I know Thomas is coaching some of the youth teams here locally. And those kids get bought in, and I'm thinking those are the guys that Can
you imagine your first coach being somebody like Thomas?
Well, he's just so patient,
yes.
And he I think I see his teams, and they, is the talent there? No, but he gets the best out of them, and they do really well. And so I think for a lot of those kids, you see the growth in those kids that may come in as somebody that didn't make a certain team, but they come to Thomas, and Thomas goes, doesn't matter. It's just a name. What are you going to do? And they just the growth that I've seen from Thomas's teams is tremendous. So.
I've had that conversation with somebody. Early development. It's kind of like being a teacher, and the teacher ends up picking their specialty, whether it's early development, elementary school, high school, middle school, even college, and it just goes to show how we need quality coaches in every level. Just because it's grassroots doesn't mean you can't have an A licensed coach down there, because honestly, that might be the most important time they need a good coach, because a bad coach could end it for a good.
And that's that's kind of the model that OEFC and then ESC and NOKC have kind of adopted. They want to try to get some of their really good coaches that they've identified into those younger groups to just develop more the one-on-one player module, because as they get older, obviously then the model grows. But you're teaching them the grassroots that they need, and then they just take off. And I think that's why, our club systems that start, obviously we have ESC, North OKC, they're split, But when they come together when they're 10 and 11 years old to OEFC, well, there's a reason that, our club has been very successful is because we're teaching them at the grassroots, and we have quality coaches that are teaching them proper soccer. And then as they get older, there's a reason now that the club teams that we have on both
national championships.
both sides of the girls and guys are just dominating. So,
can you repeat that? I didn't know that OEFC, and you said that link up at U10.
So we have the academies, which is U5 to U9 or U10. And those are going to be ran, for us, it's ran out of North Oklahoma City and ESC. So we each have our separate academies, because if it just, if we kept it one, it would still be too many.
That'd be hard.
But then they get funneled to OEFC at the under 11 age group. So their very first year that they're allowed to play competitive soccer, then they go there. And our teams just, from the start,
flourish.
They do really well.
I didn't know that. But that makes total sense. And then the ESC being, with the history that ESC has, along with NOKC, the Padovas, the Royals,
and I think, both at the time when the clubs were separate, when I grew up playing, the conversation was we should merge, because you had, Stephen Phillips running one club, you had Jimmy Hampton running the other. Both were friends, and they, I think, saw it. And then the leaders, the boards of both clubs saw that, hey, we need to merge, because we have the same values and the same ideas that we want to get, to put these players and give them the best opportunities to be successful. And I think it's been really, you see
the results.
Yeah,
you don't need to say it.
Yeah. I mean, we have one of the products from it playing, in the championship right now.
He's going to make it to the World Cup. I was a little upset that they did not call our guy Durrell to the World Cup. I feel like
I actually think he got injured, though.
He did get injured.
So, he finally came back, though, at the start of this year. So I've been watching a lot of the West Brom games, and he's been,
He's banging them in since he came back, hasn't he?
I think we looked it up the other day, 6 appearances, I think, since he's been back, 3 goals. So, he's a beast.
Is there... Now that we're talking about Durrell, I had Dante on Regatta, and he spoke a little bit about how playing with him was so easy. But I was always wondering, when you see players like that, do you just automatically tell, like, hey, that kid is just different?
I think you can. Daryl is just a specimen. He was
also playing in Europe, wasn't he?
So, he was able to do that. And went to Virginia. Biggest guy on the field at Virginia. You're watching him in the College Cup, and he's just holding off these guys that are supposed to be going high draft picks in the MLS draft, and he's just brushing them off like like they're nothing. But he worked really hard when he got to Orlando, and he just he is somebody that our young players need to look at, because he did it. He put in the work on and off the field. Because even when he was over in England, when he got loaned out, and even in Orlando, his teammates are going out and, having fun, but he stayed back because he goes, I got to finish my degree. And so he's still finishing his degree. So, that's a model there. But then you have guys like Dante that, may not be as big. Well, Messi's not that big either. But, Dante put in the work, and, he is one fast little kid, and just, puts him away.
I watched his highlight videos. I told him I watched your high school highlight videos, and it looks like you're just walking across the field.
He glides. What would be full speed for some is a jog for him.
Honestly, it looks like he's just getting by, walking them, just hitting them in, he honestly told me high school was just kind of for fun for him.
Yeah. Oh, he did really well, though. He had a coach, I think, that poured a lot into him, Joe Peeler. Joe's a great coach at that high school level, and does a lot with what he gets. When you're in public education and those athletic teams, especially in a district like Edmond and Moores, that you got multiple schools. You got to just play with the hand you're dealt, and but you got to pour into those kids, and Joe does a great job of that.
For only the season's 6 months, but they do have them year round, but they can only really work with them for 6 months.
Yeah. But he pours his heart and soul into those kids, and those kids will run through a brick wall for him.
Nice.
So,
being an AD here and having to deal with all the sports, do you still get your soccer itch scratched?
A little bit, but like I said, we've got our coaches downstairs, and so we get to go in and we talk, and just so I can kind of keep my
It must be kind of hard not trying to give them your opinions and whatnot.
It is. No, it is, and but that's where we get to talk, and and I for me, I just like to talk tactics of the game. I don't really. That's their job. Their job is to what they feel is best, to put the best 11 out there to get the job done. I think more of the time when we go in and we start talking soccer, we just talk other teams. I try to,
get their mind off of it. Probably.
Well, I think it's fun to go in because I love just be like, hey, I see that if we're getting ready to play another Harding or somebody, I say, hey, I've noticed that Harding is doing this. Do you see that too? And so we get to talk. What do we feel like our team could expose them? So. Because it's not my job to kind of tell them what I think. No. As far as the way that our players play, that's their job. And so I just like going in there and just talking with them about other teams and even just other, the professional games and what we got to watch and what we felt. I'm a Man U fan, so obviously it's been a struggle the last few years, but it's fun to see them being successful. But our men's coach is also a Man U fan, so we go in there and we chat about that sometimes. And our women's coach, Josh, we get to go in and we just talk about different players in the area because, he obviously me being from here, he's not from here. So he goes, what do you think of this player? Do you know anything? And so we get to talk a little bit about that. So,
because it's not like you don't know anything, right? I mean, just
I mean, again, just from, growing and coaching club here, and even high school, getting to know a lot of the players. And so it's fun when they come in because I think our players can do a lot. Again, they just have to be given that opportunity, and they'll run with it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And it's funny, like you don't want to talk to your coaches about soccer, but you coming up to them talking about the other teams is also a way that you're kind of preparing them without really preparing them in a sense, kind of, right?
It's just fun because, again, me, having coached college soccer, I know these coaches because some of them have been there for a long time, so I kind of know the way that they're going to play. And so we get to go in, and especially if it's somebody like Northeastern State, we just go, hey, they still playing the same game plan? Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, we know what we need to do to get it done. So.
Well, let me give this to your coaches real quick because they had a great season last year.
They did. Both actually, but both programs did really well. For Trevor to get the men again to win the conference regular season and then to then win the conference tournament to go to nationals is a big deal. The team came in hungry because they had the accomplishment last year of winning the regular season, and I think they felt that they left a lot on the table, dropping the match in the conference semifinal. And so they came in kind of with that chip on their shoulder, like, no, we left a lot, and we want to prove it. Excuse me. So they did that. And then our women, Josh, this is his first year here, did a fantastic job getting them on the up. And I'm excited to see the future next season, what's going to happen. Because, I mean, he invested a lot into some of the younger players, and he's pouring into them, and those young ladies are doing really, really well. I think it was a very good showing for them to get some conference wins and then moving into next year. And now they're actually a team that I think could probably sneak into the conference tournament, if not try to get a top seed, because he really organizes them really well.
What conference are they in now? Because they are no longer in the Sooner Athletic Conference.
Correct.
We are
now NCAA Division II, so we are in the Great American Conference. And so now our men, even though we are in the Great American Conference, we merged with the MIAA, which is what Northeastern State, Fort Hays, Newman, and Rogers State are. Because with NCAA, you have to have so many teams to try to get an automatic qualifier by winning your conference tournament. And, I think it has to be at 7 or 8. You have to have that many. So, obviously, with the Great American Conference, when OBU decided to cut their men's program, now that only left us with 3. So, we merged with MIAA that has 4, so we have 7. So it's a very competitive. And then, obviously, our women has a full slate of conference with their teams. But both sides, I mean, it's very competitive. So, I mean, our women, they battled really tough with OBU and SWASU, who have kind of ran the league the last few years. And they took them both to, either draws or, we just kind of fell short in the very end and only losing by a goal. That says a lot of what Josh was able to do and what those young ladies put in to this season. And then obviously with our men, I mean, it's a battle. I mean, Rogers State, Northeastern, Fort Hays, Harding, Ouachita, Newman, every game. It's just like the old SAC conference. I mean, honestly, it was, when we were strapping up and going against USAO, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma Christian. I mean, it was tough.
Against the good old Jimmy, huh?
Oh, yes.
And then, but I guess do you work alongside Jimmy, or you get to?
We still, yes. So, he had brought me on, he and Steven had brought me on to coach. And then when I told them, I wanted to kind of move towards the administration route, the door was left open, though, to where I could try to do a little bit more collaboration. And so that's really been good, especially now that I'm on the board at NOKC. It's just a soccer-minded person that I can try to get the information across to some parents if they're emailing board members. Well, I can explain it. Hey, this is what these guys are doing and why they're doing it, because you see the success with some of the players that we've put out, and we want that for all of our kids. Every year we have a big class that graduates, and a lot of them still go on to play at the next level, and that's what we want. We want those kids to be prepared to try to go on if they want to go on.
So I guess it leads into my next question. As a board member, what kind of things are you trying to do to promote that in all your players? Because, of course, you have so many players. There's the ones that love it, the ones that are just trying it, then there's the ones that are in between. But it's not just the players, it's the parents. And it's not just the parents, it's the refs. And
I think we really make sure that they realize that this is about the kids. This is not about you. If your child wants to be successful, you give them those opportunities, and it's going to be up to the child if they want to do it. Some kids at a young age say they want to do it, and they do really well. Some it takes, they may be middle school or high school where they decide, no, this is what I really want to do. So you got to be patient, and you can't try to force your kid to do something. My son, we tried him out in soccer a couple of times. He just, wasn't really liking it. And so he goes, and he came to me. He said, maybe as I get older, maybe I could do it a little later. I said, that's fine. But he's a phenomenal piano player. Wow. And so I'm encouraging him, do all you can. Do that. Because I'm not going to try to force somebody to do something that they don't want to do, because they're not going to enjoy it.
That's true.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is you got to be patient, because the kids will tell you in the right time when they feel like it's ready they're ready to try to take it to the next level.
Kids will tell you.
And then you got to then just realize, hey, this is what the coaches are going to do, because they believe in development. And if the kid's not going to get it done, then you got to let the coach show them, hey, here's why maybe you haven't played as much, or here's why you are playing as much, but I'm still going to push you. Either way, they're still going to be pushed and challenged so they can develop into a great player, because the coaches see that these kids are good players and they have it in them. And our coaches are just good people, and they want to get the best out of everybody. They don't let them just kind of get away with the bare minimum.
So you're telling me I can't pull a Reina and call one of the board administrators and say, hey, my son isn't, I don't like the way the coach is talking about my son. Like, what should I do?
Yeah. If somebody did that to me, I haven't had to have that just yet. But I think I would probably just tell them, sorry, that's, we're not going to go down this route, because it's just, you open yourself up for just so many bigger issues. And obviously we're seeing that now. I just,
it's a shame, isn't it?
It is. And, I think that's where, if you get the parents to see, though, this is why we want to do it, because we want your kid to be successful, but don't try to take charge. Let the coaches, we have the coaches here for a reason, and they're good coaches, good people. Let them do their job. And so we've been very lucky so far, at least, for the groups that I have to cover, because I haven't had to deal with it too much.
Yeah, but at the same time, are majority of the players that you're seeing now kids of players, or are we now seeing newer players of people that haven't played it before?
I'd say it's a mix. Obviously,
I'm gonna hit this button real quick. Make sure it's recording. Sorry.
I would say it's a mix. You've got some of the guys like Thomas and Dominique that may have some kids now, and they're playing soccer. Where my son is, he's 10. I've got some other friends of mine that have kids, and they may be a little younger, and they're starting to just now get into playing. So I say right now it's still a mix, but I think in the next 3 to 4 years you'll see where it's kids that have grown up playing, in your OEFCs, in your Normans, South Lakes, that are now, now they're in it as a parent, and I think it's the biggest thing is, you got to keep that mindset of you didn't like it when parents stepped in, so don't be that parent and step in. And so that's where, because my parents were like that when I grew up playing. If I was so frustrated or anything, they just told me, go talk to the coach. You got to do it. They never stepped in. And so that's what I've, really tried to do even for my son, even though he's more into the music scene. If he's getting frustrated, I said, well, you need to go talk to your piano instructor, And so the more that you can teach those skills to the kids, they'll take it as they get older, and it'll be very beneficial as they get older.
It's so hard, though. I played soccer. Like you said, I have a 5-year-old, and we have him signed up somewhere. And my wife is very good. Oh, she didn't play soccer. But it's hard for me not to be critical and just be like, they've been standing around for 5 minutes and only one person's touching the ball. Or just something like that. And it's just, but at the same time, unfortunately, my son isn't just as passionate about it as he is for drawing or for playing video games or whatever it might be. So like you, and you answered one of my questions that I was going to ask is like, what do I got to feed my son to just kick a ball and eat, sleep, and dream it all day?
Yeah, and that's the thing is some of the kids, they'll want to do it because you'll have kids that are 5 or 6 years old and they're going in the backyard once they get home from school and putting in the extra work there. But you may have some that aren't there just yet, but you got to just encourage them, whatever they're passionate about, and just encourage them in that. Because then they'll see that you're bought into what they want to do, and they know that they have your support no matter what they do.
I love that. As an athletic director, you're dealing with so many cultures, so many foreigners, so many people from different countries who might not have ever been to Oklahoma, might not have ever seen their first snowfall happen.
Yep.
How do you deal with this hodgepodge of cultures here?
Well, I was prepared for it when I was at OBU. We had a lot of Brazilians play at OBU, and me kind of, the way that my parents raised me, it didn't matter who you were. I mean, we loved you no matter what. And so even growing up in high school, I mean, I was bringing all of our football team over when I played football, and, our house was kind of it was the hangout spot. I mean, everybody was in and out. My parents they loved it. And so when I, got to OBU, and now I'm introduced now to more of an international culture, those guys, they had nothing a lot of the time when they, Christmas breaks and sometimes summers, and they're just kind of sitting because they don't have the luxury to go home all the time. And I remember my freshman year of college, my mom threw the keys at me because I'm talking to my buddy Sullivan, and him and 4 of the other guys are just, sitting on the floor of their apartment during Christmas. This is Christmas Day. And she threw the keys at me. She goes, you need to go pick them up. And so I went and picked them up, and by the time we got back, she somehow learned how to cook a Brazilian feast. Wow. And she had this whole array of foods made for them. And then that just kind of became the tradition every Christmas, every Easter, every Thanksgiving. I think our largest Christmas, we had 20 extra people with us. Wow. And so I think that's the biggest thing here is we do have a lot of culture. And so I know for our mission, part of our mission here at SNU is, reaching them and being disciples of Christ to them and just showing them that love. And so we've got so many countries represented, and it's just offering, opportunities for them, to come in and, if they can't go home, I mean, they've got classmates that, take them home with them because they're family. And so I think that's our biggest thing is making sure that the family is taken care of and loved. So
one of my best friends, Javier Hernandez, he went to MacU, and we got Rafa a whole summer and even some Christmas. And yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that you might see a lot of foreigners here, but when those holiday times come, and for the ones that aren't fortunate enough to be able to go home, they get stuck here, and it's hard for them to just be like, hey, let me go spend Christmas with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, we loved it. I mean, and I think my aunt loved it more than anybody. My aunt has special needs, but she loves to talk. And so I remember one year we had a couple of Brazilians that were freshmen. Well, they still didn't know English just yet. And my aunt is just sitting over there having a full-blown conversation with them, and I see Pesh over there just smiling and nodding, not understanding a single word, but she loved it. But I know we loved it because, for us, they were family. I've been able to go down there and get to go spend time with their families back in Brazil. I've been down there 3 times. So the third time I went on my honeymoon. And so because when I was getting married, they wanted to come up for the wedding. And I said, no, how about, we can come down there. And so we got to go my wife and I spent a week in Natal. And we made time, for them to come and get to hang out with us. We made time for that. And so it was, because they're family, they're my brothers, and I wanted them to be a part of as much as they could. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And then being a soccer person, I bet you couldn't help but just peel around, check out the soccer culture down there in Brazil, right?
I love my wife, and she allowed me to go play and actually do a coaching session. And so it was, I think, like the first or second day we were there. My buddy Andre came to pick us up because, I wanted my wife to also see the different cuisines that are there. And so, we had meals at the resort we were staying at, but, lunchtime was kind of the easier time to go and see the different restaurants there. So Andre came and picked us up one of those days, and he goes, "Hey, can you run a session for my boys?" And I looked at him and I was like, "I'm on my honeymoon, man. Like, no." And my wife, she looks at me, she goes, "You're going to go do it?" I said, "Okay."
Okay.
So my wife's amazing. So she, and she came and she, was there, and she got to talk, to, at the time, his girlfriend, it's now his wife. So she was there hanging out and got to talk with her and everything while I'm out there, and she's let me run a coaching session on our honeymoon. So
what did you see? What did you learn just from running those little sessions there?
You just, obviously having played with the Brazilians, you kind of know their philosophy of they have a little bit more flair to the game, but
Soccer, huh?
Soccer is soccer, and they want to play, and so they're looking to find the pass, but at the time, if they're in a one-on-one situation, they're going to try to do the creative skills in those, and I think that's why they're successful a lot of the time when they come here, because they're not afraid to go one-on-one, and if they mess up, they don't pout about it. They just they're going to get they know that they're going to get an opportunity again, and they're going to go out and try to do it again.
It's kind of like the Unteachables, right? Their culture of just doing all that. Because I've seen we have a big Brazilian community here.
We do. I don't think a lot of people realize that.
No, they don't.
We do. We have quite a few. And so what's great is, one of my teammates from OBU, Kyle França, is actually a biology professor here. And so he and I, we get to hang out all the time here. And we get to talk about that. We actually have another Brazilian professor in the science department as well. And but then, we've got Gabby, we got Rafa, and just all these guys that, had the opportunity to come here to play, and they loved it so much that they made it home. And so, we have Marcus out at, he's now at Seminole State, over there. He was a freshman in my senior year at OBU, and then got to, coach him, a couple of years I was there as well. And he's still here, so it's crazy the amount. I don't think people realize that.
No, they don't. I was having this conversation with Jason Hawkins, and he was telling me how another thing that we probably don't realize is all these players that come international that end up staying do so much for our game here. You got the Gabbies, the Rafas,
Well, you even have Mark Howard, who came here initially. Mark Howard, who's now one of the directors at OEFC and ESC. He came here to play, and then after he kind of hung up his boots, he came in as an assistant coach. And coached with Jimmy for so long, Jimmy Nielsen. And then, now he's, one of our youth coaches. And you get somebody like that to pour into these youth. He took the one team to win the ECNL Nationals last year, and my boys that I've got to coach in high school, they love playing for him. But I think it's just because his knowledge of the game. He played under Sir Alex Ferguson. How many people do you get to know that get to? Yeah. So but then we got Jonathan. Lexi, John Brown. You got these guys that are here. Even Danny, out of Oklahoma Rangers, and we've been fortunate to have the international mixed with the guys that have grown up playing here locally as well. And I think for our community, it's been just a huge success in just blending the cultures. And we've just made such a diverse group, a healthy, diverse group, that we get to pick ideas off each other. And, you know,
those must be some great conversations.
I mean, you know, you get to see what they grew up doing in England versus what somebody did in Brazil versus what we do here. And we get to tie all those things in together. I mean, you know, it's fun.
You got England, Brazil, you know, Wales versus what we do on 2nd Street in Edmond.
Yeah.
That's funny. And, you know, it's, since we're on the topic, you know, one of the most popular, you know, the famous ones and the first ones was Harvey that came. And
so, you know, lost a legend a couple weeks ago. I mean, you talk about a man that came here, started a program from scratch. And then while building that program, built a culture of soccer here in the city that really, I don't think soccer in Oklahoma City, let alone Oklahoma, would be what it is today if it weren't for Brian Harvey. I don't think I would be where I am today because of Brian Harvey. You know, he recruited me when I was in high school. Obviously, I made the decision to go to OBU, but we still kept in touch because, you know, he knew I kind of wanted to get my feet wet in coaching. So as I started going through the coaching education process, he was the one that was my instructor for my first 2 courses, and really just kind of, you know, gave me some of the really good ideas and just his philosophy. And there's a reason that his alumni base is just, I mean, they're all family for him. And so, because he really pours into those players, but he also poured into the coaches that either coached against him or even players that played against his teams, like me. You know, I mean, he took the time to give me encouragement, and then not only as my instructor, but just outside of that, and just, you know, kind of push me along, especially when I was in Missouri. You know, he would constantly kind of be encouragement for me, knowing, you know, if times were getting hard, hey, it's okay, you keep going, because you're doing, you know, you're doing what you need to do to put these kids in positions to be successful. And I think that's where, you know, anybody that had the opportunity to either be coached by Brian or just, you know, kind of be a mentee of him. I mean, we were blessed. I mean, he's just such a good man. And so, you know, I know the Oklahoma City University community is struggling, but also us as a soccer community in Oklahoma are struggling. But we are so grateful for the impact that he left because he built. I mean, I don't think we'd be where we were if we weren't for Brian Harvey.
So many people have been impacted by him. I mean, Hampton was just telling me how for Hampton, Harvey is the guy, and I'm like, well, for Hampton, you're the guy for a lot of other people. So to hear that from him, but it's, you know, the work just shows for itself. So no, I mean, it stinks not to go out to a tournament anymore, and knowing I won't see, you know, Coach waddling up in his in his parka, and it still be 80-something degrees outside, and he's wearing his parka. But yeah, he's probably still out there. He's still out there.
Yeah,
he's still out there.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Well, for the Manchester United fans out there, it's been tough, but it's
growing.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. Sunday was
What a game.
Yeah, it was a good game, but it was hard to swallow, you know, letting in that late goal. But I think you see there's passion in it again for the players. There are moments where you can just tell they are a dominant team. Where in the past, I think, you know, we could be winning a game, but it's just like we're just hanging on because something's going to happen. But I think with any program, if you want it to be successful, you have to give it time. Harvey was given time. Look where Oklahoma City University is. Hampton's given time. Look where they are. MacU was given time. Evan and Zach built a tremendous thing, and obviously both of them decided, you know, to try to move on. But they were there for so long and built it, and then they had guys come in after them that also built it. And so I think if you got to bring somebody in that, you know, long term, you got to buy into them. I think for so long, Man U was just so quick to.
Yeah, they were just trying to. I mean, big clubs need big results, and we'll do that in any way possible.
You got to give them the time.
And it's just like Arteta. He was given the time, even though for the past 3 or 4 seasons.
You look where they are now, and they bought into him. They allowed him to try to build, and there's a reason. I'm not an Arsenal fan. My buddy Christian is. God bless him. But you just see, he was given time. Ferguson was given time. Ferguson didn't have success early on. He was given time, and now look, was it 26 Premier League titles or whatever? I mean, he did it. Even Wenger, for Arsenal though, he was given time. You have to give him time. You can't. Rome wasn't built in a day. The old saying. And so, if you want something good, you gotta put in the time and let those guys build it.
Have you been able to catch a Manchester United game in person yet?
I have. I went over in 2017. I got to see them play at Old Trafford against Southampton. And I actually went over with one of my buddies I played with in college. He actually spent 2 summers over there playing with a ministry called Total 90 Ministries. And so I
love that name.
He was placed with a host family. And so I actually got to meet Matt, we call him Dabo. He came over, and so I got to connect with him. And so we went over there, though, in 2017 and spent, I think, almost 2 weeks there. Well, Corbin and Dabo are Liverpool fans. And I was like, ooh, okay.
We'll make this work, I guess.
It was fine. No, I mean, I think it was fun just to see the culture, though, because I've been to London. I went to London when I was in high school. So I got to see the culture of, kind of South England. And then now you go more to the northwest part of England, and where Liverpool and Manchester are. Well, Liverpool is kind of a coastal city. And so, but obviously they've got the culture and tradition of music and everything because of the Beatles and everything. But then you go to Manchester, and it's more of a business district, and concrete, all over. But so I got to see them play there. I took the train over from Liverpool to Manchester, so that was fun. But one night we're hanging out, and I just kind of get on StubHub, and I said, "Hey, United's playing, at Everton," and obviously Everton, yep. And I was like, "How does StubHub work over here?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Let me see the ticket though, because sometimes it could be a scam." And he looks at me and he goes, "Look, I know I'm a Liverpool fan, but you're here to experience this. I'm going to be mad at you if you don't get to go to this game." And so I think I paid. It ended up being $40 American, and I got to go to Goodison Park and sit 7 rows up from the pitch.
No way.
On the half line.
$40?
On the half line.
I got goosebumps just imagining myself sitting on there.
Well, I grew up and Wayne Rooney was my player.
Yeah?
And at that time, he was playing for Everton. So I've got pictures. Rooney's right there at the half line throwing the ball in. And Mourinho was the coach at the time. And Mourinho was kind of the guys for me. I was like, oh, I like that guy. He's very blunt, not afraid to say it.
Yeah.
So he, was coaching United at the time. So I got pictures of Mourinho there and, Pogba and, just all those guys.
Jesse's out there. You got De Gea in the back.
Lingard scored a goal that game. And I can't remember who scored the first one. But, they scored both the goals to the goal that was closer to me and the United stand. And so I'm getting pictures, just as they're running towards me and on the camera. So that was, so I got to see them play twice in person there in England.
Could that be maybe the top moment for you, like getting to witness some soccer? Or
soccer-wise, yes.
Is there a better moment?
Top moment for me was, when I got married to my wife.
Of course.
But no, I think soccer-wise, that's up there. Because that's
that's the dream.
You get to go see the team that you love dearly, and they're right there. You can almost touch them.
You watched it every weekend from the comfort of your living room to watching it in the stands.
And I think for me, it was just the culture piece of it. Knowing when I'm at Old Trafford and they score a goal, I can go crazy with everybody else. But I'm sitting amongst a bunch of Everton supporters. I can't. Yeah. I can't, like, if they score 2 goals. So I'm not getting up and, screaming and yelling because know the culture, know the place. Yeah. That's why I just get up and I just start snapping pictures. I remember sitting back down, and the guy was sitting next to me goes, you're smart. I was like, I know if I start screaming and yelling, somebody's throwing something at me.
Yes, yes. Well, then, doesn't that get you excited for the World Cup then that's coming here in 3 years?
Oh, I'm excited for that, definitely. I mean, even though like I said, my son not into playing it, but he enjoys watching it. You know, we've already, and my buddies and I have also talked about it, you know, as we all have kids now, talking about how we're planning these trips, you know, with our kids, that we get to come and
I'm right there with you.
Take them to those games. And, you know, I've even got my buddies in Brazil, you know, because it's easier for them to come here than most of the other countries where it's held, because they know when they come here, they could just come here, and they couldn't stay here. And then, you know, if Brazil's playing in Kansas City or Dallas or Houston, you know, we can just all drive down there together, and we don't have to worry too much about lodging, because obviously, you know, it could be expensive for hotels, but they could stay here and we only have to spend one night of a hotel. But for us, I know, you know, I'm excited for it to try to see if, you know, does the U.S. get the draw in Kansas City, Dallas, or Houston? I mean, my guess it's going to be one of the bigger stadiums.
It'd have to be Dallas, right? They have to play Dallas once. But
yeah, it's going to be a toss-up, because is the Houston – I can't remember if the Houston Stadium's actually Reliant Stadium or not, where the Texans play.
I don't know.
So if it's not – I mean, if they're planning on trying to play, though, at the Dynamo Stadium, then it's going to be Dallas, because, I mean, more money.
Oh, yeah. I think Jerry World is up for the final. It could be.
Yeah, I think – you know, they're gonna play it in a big NFL stadium, because they have the capacity to do it. So, I mean,
yikes. Yeah, I joke with my wife all the time. I've been telling her for like the past 3 years, we're not going to have a kid until after this World Cup, because having a kid that's under the age of 4 kind of complicates things when it comes to traveling, you know?
It does. So. Yes, it does. But, I mean, I think my wife might even want to come, though, too, just because it's, you know, how many times is this going to happen again?
You're going to be like your friend in England. I'm going to be upset with you if you have a chance to go and you don't.
You know, I think she'll even want to come, because it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things. This won't happen again in our lifetime.
So if you were the athletic director for the U.S. men's national team, would you give it to Mourinho? If you had to pick, and whoever you pick said yes, of course.
If whoever I pick, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I mean, you know, if I'm in that position and I'm going to try to get the best coach, I think you just got to see who's also a coach that I feel like our players are going to go along with. I want somebody, though, that's proven themselves at a high level. So, yes, Mourinho's proven himself at a high level. Klopp has. Pep has. You just got to find those guys that are going to be a good fit, though, too. And, again, we're the U.S. I think we have a lot of resources. The game is still young here. I love the fact that we do have a lot of players playing internationally, because that's where they're going to get better. I'm not by any means saying the MLS is not going to prepare them. I'm just saying a lot of our guys that are able to go and play in a top league, you know, Daryl's playing in the championship. We have guys playing in the Bundesliga. Obviously, Pulisic's playing in the Premier League. Those are top leagues as well, where they're going to develop and play against some of the best of the best. They'll still play some of the best here in the MLS. It's just if you get that international experience, though, too, is just a plus. So you just, you know, you're hoping you can also bring in somebody that will value the local league and the international league and try to put the players in the best situation where they're going to develop. Some players may develop better here in an MLS. Some may develop better in a Bundesliga or a Premier League or a championship. You know, it just depends on the player and the connections that, you know, that the national team coach may have. So I'm thinking it's, you know, whoever they bring in, are they going to mesh with the players? Are they going to have the chemistry? Are the players going to respect him? Is he going to respect the players, though, too? I found that I think why is Pep and Klopp, why have they been so successful? The players know that they're the coach, but at the same time, they also respect the values and the opinions of the players, and they get the best out of them, though. But there's a lot of back and forth. Pep has the ideas, but he also lets them bring their own flair and attitude to the game. Same thing for Klopp. I think they just have that common ground. Players respect him, they respect the players. That goes a long way. And so I think for us, I don't know, if Mourinho were to come, there won't be you won't have any soccer parents calling. I know that for sure.
That's for sure.
I mean, they'll be calling, but he just will turn to deaf ear to it.
No, I had seen a meme where he's, of course, one of his celebrating, and it had said something like, Jose Mourinho celebrating a 1-0 win against Trinidad and Tobago, whatever it is.
I mean, but what coach doesn't get excited when you score? You know, I mean, I think my players at first, they thought I was kind of nuts, but then they see that it's because I enjoy watching them score and I get excited watching them score, and they were like, okay, you know, that's normal now, and they enjoy it. And so, you know, it's fun when they come enjoy the celebrations with you. So,
and the little bit of coaching that I've had, I was able to volunteer coach for an elementary school for the Police Athletic League. And luckily, we ended up making it all the way to the finals and ended up winning it. But celebrating those goals for a bunch of elementary school kids, it might just be elementary school kids, but to us, it was just like,
well, I mean, I think it's just you get to see them have success. And, you know, you get into coaching, you get into anything athletics where you're working with individuals, with student athletes, and you want them to be successful. And so when you see them be successful, you know that you've done your job to prepare them. And so when they have success, you get to enjoy that success with them because, you know, they put in the work. And you're like, oh, yes, they did it. They see. So for me, I know, you know, I mean, I've coached a number of kids, and a lot of them, some of them went on to play college soccer. But my biggest thing that I told them is, you know, whether or not you have success on the field, it's off the field that matters. And I think I get more success, or I get more enjoyment of their success off the field. I think I've got one young man that's at the University of Penn doing med school there. I've got one here at OU doing med school. I got twin brothers. One's at Columbia University. The other one, I believe, is either at Rice or doing graduate school at Duke. Just for, you know, I think business is what they're doing. I enjoy getting to see those kids be successful off the field. I mean, one of my players is he was a volunteer assistant here for our men's team, but he's getting ready to try to get into PT school, and you know that's what he wants to do. And I'm excited to see him be successful because you know, if I got any, you know, I wake up every morning, something hurts now. I'm at that age.
Amen.
You know, Jose comes in and does some, you know, some stretches on me, but that's what he wants to do, and I think he'll be very successful at it. So I think, you know, we celebrate those kids in those moments, and then we get to also celebrate the moments off the field where we get to see them be successful. And I think for me, moving now into this administration role, and, you know, in the past being an administrator, you know, at Deer Creek for a little bit, you get to see some of those kids in other sports, you know, because obviously I coach soccer, but, you know, seeing some of our kids that went on to play baseball or football, but you get to see them play. You're excited to watch them. And then when they get the degree, though, too, it's exciting. So
you have many kids under your belt. That's the AD. It's not just the 16, 20 on a soccer team. It's
everybody. And I think it's fun. And, you know, it's exciting, you know, the connections that I've built here with a lot of the players. It's fun because you look at them and, you know, you get to be a part of that, you know, their story. And you hope that your part, for me, my hope is that my part that I play is preparing them, and they look back going, I remember when Coach said, hey, we need to do this, because that, you know, that's going to put them in a better position, and they're going to teach it because it was something that I was taught. And so you just want to keep that trend going and just get to celebrate their successes, but at the same time even celebrate the failures because, you know, you go back to the drawing board and you get, you know, I failed many a times, but you just kind of got to, I had people help me, you know, we pick ourselves back up, we learn, we can move on, and we try to do better the next one. So I think that's what you got to do, anything in life.
That's well said. I played a lot of sports. My wife didn't play many sports at all, but I tried to explain to her the power of sports. There's not very many things that you can do that's going to allow you to fail as much and grow and maybe even get used to the failure, because you don't grow without it, you know? So I try to explain. That's why I very much push for both my kids just to try it. Let them try soccer. I saw my son hitting a ball with a stick. You want to do baseball? What's baseball? Don't worry about it. We're going to try it. But it's just, you have to expose them to it.
It does. It offers a lot of life lessons. And I think, you know, kind of like what I just said, the biggest one is you're going to fail. But it also allows you to be successful in the failures at times. I mean, baseball, you go, 1 for 4, on a day. Honestly, that's
a good day.
That's a good day because I mean, I go in there and I see our guys throwing these heaters, and I can't even hit it. I'd be frozen in the moment. I mean, they're throwing 90 miles an hour. Couldn't do it. So I mean, the fact that that's their gift is seeing that ball come that fast. But again, they've failed at times, but they've allowed, sport just allows ways for us to correct certain things, and we can use that even, in life. We could fail at something here, but what can we do to learn from it? If I fail on something in the office, I got to go back. Okay, where did we fall wrong? Okay, we got to make sure that we change this so it's going to be successful, because then everything else becomes successful. But I think also the biggest thing is, while we have success doing certain things, we can't just think, oh, it's good, we don't have to keep refining our skills. No, you always want to make sure, even though it's good, we don't have to try to fix it. We just want to refine and always try to improve it every day to make sure that we're getting the best out of it.
What's that saying go? It's if you feel like you know everything, you know nothing.
Going through the coaching education, I had somebody, they said, if you think you know everything about soccer, then you need to get out. Yeah. And that's true. I mean, if you're not if you think you know anything and everything about a certain subject, you need to stop and reevaluate. You should always be learning. I think that's where our soccer community does a really good job of collaborating and finding new ideas and always trying to learn and pushing education for the coaches. Because the coaches, if they learn, that means the players are going to learn. So the more that we're always learning and trying to, get better each and every day, the players are going to be successful from that, because they're going to see that, oh, I've got to keep learning every day too. I've got to keep pushing myself every day, because it's not just going to be given to me. I have to earn it, but I also, once I've earned it, I have to keep going and try to, make my craft even better each and every day.
That's well said.
It's stuff that I do here. I mean, where we could be successful in running a certain part of operations, I've got to try to, I've got to look at it going, what can I do to also just keep pushing that forward? Because we want to make sure that our guests have the best experience. We want to make sure our student athletes have the best experience. We want to make sure our families that come in have the best experience. So we want to make sure that those families feel like their child is being taken care of. So there's just a lot of pieces that, we always have to, do better. Even if it's already good, we still got to do better. Because if we feel like it's good enough and we know it all, it's it'll fail.
Yeah, as soon as you're not the student, it's downhill from there. I hate to put you on the spot. As an athletic director that messes with all these sports, I always find it kind of funny when people ask other people what they think is the hardest sport to master.
I mean, honestly, all of them. Because, for me, even though you've got football that takes a lot of manpower and there's a lot of moving pieces. Yes. But then you have a baseball or softball that doesn't have as much. For me, they're both equal, because I got to make sure that the experience and the operation side of it is ran well for both. Because I don't want a baseball or softball player feeling like they're not as valuable as a football player. I don't want a football player feeling that they're less valuable than a soccer player, and a basketball player feeling like they're less valuable than a track star. I mean, for me, all of them. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
There are.
And even though I'm a soccer guy, and people may think that I try to give a lot of attention to soccer, I mean, I do try my best to make sure that everybody is getting my attention, and I make sure that I'm constantly trying to communicate with each and every coach of every sport, because the biggest thing that I want is for them to only worry about trying to prepare those athletes and their game plans to go out and win, because I love it when I watch them win. I love it. And so for me, I want to make sure that I can take off any of the small things that they've had to do. I want to, guest list. Hey, tell your athletes if they have any questions on a guest list, come contact me. You guys don't need to worry about that. Small things like that, because they don't need to be worrying about that in the back of their mind. They need to be focused on what can I do to put my athletes in a position to be successful on and off the field, and where I can take the smaller things so they can fully be invested in those kids and their game plans.
Because they're all already doing so much.
No, I mean, it's a 24/7 thing, 365. I mean, in athletics, we never really get a break. I mean, college, we can have summer, but,
the real ones are preparing themselves for the season.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, my boss, my athletic director, and I have been talking. Yeah, we have summer, but we're going to be spending summer trying to make sure that we're ready to go, because we love the idea of trying to get it done early. Because if we put in a lot of work in the first couple of weeks of May and June, then we do have some time that we can recharge, because it can wear on you. But I think the biggest thing that I know my AD, my boss here, very big on family. And so, the more that we can try to do ahead of time to still allow us to have the balance to be with the family, I love it.
Nice. Well, we've been going for like almost an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it went by fast. The camera turns off 30 minutes and I clicked it twice. Before we go, so you can pick up your kid and I can pick up mine before we get snowed in, I like to ask this question. Who is Nick Pettit?
Oh, that's hard. I think, I'd like to think if people were to, and try to answer that, they would just say somebody that generally loves God, but that also loves people and tries to love them in a way that would turn them to the Lord. I love God, and I love seeing the people succeed, and so I do all I can to try to serve them in the way to make them see God's love in all that I can do.
Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did.
I love it. I mean, the podcast, it's fun to watch everybody come on, and some new faces at times that I may not know, but then obviously, some guys that you've had on, like Coach Hampton and Byron and others. I'm like, oh man, it's fun to just hear them, and see where life has kind of taken them. And so, the fact that Byron now is, the Randall. Yeah, he's at Randall, and it's exciting to see that. I think he's going to do really well, because he's a guy that's always hungry. He's always hungry, and he is one of those that pours a lot into his players. And then you obviously have seen, what Hampton and Harvey have done. They pour a lot into their players, and there's a reason that the alumni basis for both of those guys and their coaching trees and any of their branches in life, they're just fruitful. So many. So it's fun.
I just thought of something, and I guess this just happens, and I can't leave without asking you this. But when I spoke to the mayor last week, a couple weeks ago, he had spoken on the improvements that are going on at NOKC. And as a member of the board, I feel like it'd be, good for you to elaborate a little bit on what all is going on over there.
From what I'm allowed to say,
because
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's improvements going on, so we can potentially host
some national tournaments, maybe
bigger youth tournaments and things. So obviously there's just some stuff that I can't disclose just yet, but it's improvements that's going to benefit the city, everyone that comes in there, and it's much needed. It's gonna be good for the city. It's gonna be good for the club. Ultimately, it's gonna be good for the players that are either players that are here locally, but those that come out of state. They're gonna be coming to a top-notch facility, and they're gonna remember the time that they had at North OKC Soccer Complex.
That's good. You didn't give us anything, but you enticed us and got us ready for what is to come. So I love that.
No, it's exciting. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, obviously we've seen the plans, and some of the plans I think have been made to the public, but Mayor Holt and everybody else that's been a part of it, their support has been huge.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim McLaughlin and the Nobles, just phenomenal people that obviously their kids are soccer. They're a soccer family. Both families are soccer families, and they see that this,
it's necessary.
It's what's needed, and they've put a lot of time and effort into it because they want to offer the same. They want to offer it to the community. Both of those families are so involved in the community as well. I mean, Fields for Futures and everything that they've done. What they were able to do for the Oklahoma City schools with Fields for Futures, they also want to try to do that now for the complex, because it reaches more than just those that play out of North OKC. It's going to benefit South Lake. It's going to benefit Norman and all the others that come.
I say rising tides raise all boats.
So,
Well, thank you. And then one of my favorite sayings has always been like, be the adult you wish you would have had when you were a kid. And I very much get that from you. So I want to say, keep doing what you're doing. I love it, and I think you're on the right path.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been fun to just, sit around and talk, and, hopefully, those that hear this can say, oh, yes, let's go do some more. So.
Yeah. And then remind everybody, SNU is down the street. We're in Oklahoma City, and you guys have basketball games going on, soccer games going on, football games going on.
We have 24 sports. We've got rugby, we've got basketball, we've got soccer, we've got baseball, softball, track, cross country. We're adding bowling next fall.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So, you want to come and experience something, come check out SNU. We love opening our doors to anybody, because if they walk into our campus and they just see the love that's poured out, but then also just the fact that we care about them both in athletics and in education, I think they'll really just enjoy their time here at SNU. And so, I encourage those that want to come and catch any type of game, but also maybe try to come and check out the campus, do it, because it's a beautiful campus. It's right down the street for a lot of people. And so some people may think that college may kind of be, not for them right in this moment, but unless they come here, it could be something. It could, because again, down the street, so they're not having to worry about, finding housing and things. They could come and stay at mom and dad's house. I mean, the fact that we have Putnam City and Oklahoma City, two of the largest districts right here in our backyard, love to have more of those kids come through, so we can show them some opportunities and offer them opportunities, to just propel them for their future and things that they would want to do.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody.
Yeah.
Come here, touch it, feel it, smell it, get to witness some high-level sports, because, I mean, I think we need to get exposed more to it. It's not as hard as you think. If you don't think you can make it to college, if you don't think you can play college sport, if you think it, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
No, I'll leave with this story. I mean, I had one of my players from Deer Creek. He never really thought college was going to be for him. Now, he was getting looked from ORU and Tulsa, some others, but, haven't gotten offers yet. We went on a visit to MacU, had a very good offer there. And then he came here, and, we found the ways between, there's the FAFSA that everybody's got to fill out, academics, and obviously athletics. We found a way. And, he told me, he goes, I never thought I'd graduate. But, there was this opportunity that came, he came here, and there was people working all behind the scenes to make sure that every student here has the opportunity to make sure that we can try to get them out with a degree to put them in a position to be successful after they walk through these doors. So, he's going to be graduating next May. And so it's fun to see, it's fun just to see those that they didn't think about it, and then they came, and it happened. God opened the doors, but, God also had put it on the people in the background to help make it happen as well, and try to find the best situation for each and every student. So,
being the adult you wish you would have had when you were a kid, right there.
It's fun. I mean, I really do love just pouring into people.
Is being an AD just not the best job in the world?
I mean,
and it definitely has its hard times. I bet it does.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's got its ups and downs, but I think it's probably the best job, because for me, I'm a sports guy, so I get to do sports every day, but I also get to connect with people because of sport. Because sport just casts, I was talking, to our special education families and those that have been a part, when I was at Deer Creek and offering these kids opportunities. Athletics just casts such a big net into the community that it makes the networking and the web connections so much greater. That I don't think people realize. So, like I said, what started as something small with one of my special education students has now opened doors for all students, kids. Not just special education. I mean, just all. And because of athletics, I don't think people realize,
power of sports.
The Oklahoma City Thunder, they, were a big part of some stuff that we did because they're involved in the community. I mean, Sam Presti, the general manager, took time out of his day to create these gift bags and send them to kids at my high school because we were hosting a basketball tournament. And, I mean, that just says a lot. I mean, name another GM in any organization on that scale that's going to take time to put together a gift bag to send to some kids.
Wow.
I mean, that just says a lot. I mean, it says a lot that we've got a team like the Energy. Yeah, come on, let's make it happen, you know? So, and they want that for everybody, so.
Man. Well, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But Nick, I appreciate your time, your knowledge and wisdom, and sharing it here with us on the Mas Futbol Podcast. If you have anything else to say in the future, just let us know and we'll make it happen.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And for everyone that's been listening, thank you guys. This has been another episode of the Mas Futbol Podcast. See you later.